Welcome to the listening booth. Today we'll be listening to the new album by Arca. It's called Mutant, and it's on Mute Records. Arca's been on the radar since about 2012, when he released 3 EPs in 1 year on the label Uno NYC. That brought him to the attention of Kanye West, who was looking for producers for his next album, Yeezus. Arca was one of those producers, and he contributed to some of the tracks on the album. That same year, he released his first mixtape, and. In 2014, he finally released his debut album, Zen, also on Mute Records. This year, he also released his second mixtape, Sheep. It's fair to say that Arca has been making waves throughout pop music, throughout electronic music, throughout hip-hop music, throughout experimental music. He's just been almost everywhere and just very much in demand. His style is very unique. It's very idiosyncratic. It's hard to compare it to many things. There's just so much to take in that each track feels like its own album, or each track feels like several tracks put together, and it's basically your job to put them into order or to make some sort of sense of them. I have a lot to say about this album. Very excited about this review. I think for now we're just going to get right into the listening session, see what this thing has to offer, and then we'll see what happens. Yeah, it features these heavily processed and filtered synths. It has this bass drum that kind of feels like it's moving, sort of like it's running away from something. It almost sounds like there are several voices singing unintelligibly all at the same time through this sort of really insane digital filter. Amazing start-stop dynamics throughout the album, definitely on display in this song, where you just basically hear no sound and then just a barrage of sound explodes out of nowhere. If you're listening to it with headphones, it sort of feels like the sound is all around you. It has this very 360 feel, sort of like if you could hear Panavision, this is what it would sound like. At the end, it sounds like the track has basically retreated underground. It's just it's just done its business and it's ready to go and rest. Starts off with this heavy distortion, this sort of digital noise. It's very, very exciting. There's more start-stop dynamics in this track, even more so than in the first track. You hear screaming, distorted and processed vocals. Everything sounds very mutated, so very much in line with the title. To me, it sounds like a catastrophe just in reverse. Amazing staccato synth notes with just tons of reverb, massive sound explosions. The sub bass comes in. There's just a musicality to it that's really undeniable. If someone who is absolutely not interested in this were to hear it, they'd probably just dismiss it as complete noise. But if you're actively listening, you can hear how the song morphs, how the song transforms, and how it just becomes this melodic, beautiful mess by the end. Metallic and digital percussion. There's a choir. There's even more processed vocal samples. There are these chords and glissandos that you can hear. And it just kind of sounds like Sigur Rós at the end. Very big track. I think it's the longest track on the album. My highest praise. This is just very inventive, very experimental. I'm very much for this. Reverse samples, there's this strange sort of metallic bells melody that's playing, these really strange and out-of-step arpeggios. This sounds very much like it could be on Zen, it could have been on the last album. There's a lot of sub-bass, distorted upper octave synth notes that come in. There's this sub-bass drum that just hits like just dropping bricks on the track. There's a clap snare, a sort of rhythm appears out of nowhere. Arpeggios, the arpeggios sound great. Metallic screeching, and basically just digital cacophony. An amazing track. I think, yeah, it requires active listening, as do all of these tracks. But yeah, very easy to dismiss at first. I just thought it kind of sounded like Zen when I first heard it. I thought, oh, it's more of the same, but this is really something else. I think that his past work has definitely helped him just evolve into something unstoppable at this point. Even if it's a minute long, it is growing. Everything is growing. Everything is taking shape. You just have to stick around until the end, and then you see what every track is worth, and you see what this album is worth, and what this music is worth. Starts off with this digital static and these metallic chains as percussion. It's a very interesting choice of percussion. You hear these noise stabs, and again, you have the start-stop dynamics. Again, no noise, and then just an explosion, no noise, explosion. All of the tracks so far and future tracks have just, again, the three-dimensional sound quality to them. Very 360. If you're wearing headphones, it sounds like it's going all around you. If you close your eyes, you're in this world. This is my favorite track so far. You have this piano ostinato that comes in, and then this beat starts up, just this barrage of digital percussion, and I'm just going insane basically at this point. This track is amazing. Because his gift is that he can make both really melodic noise and very rhythmic noise, and it just works on all different levels. Starts off with this piano note, and then there's a scream, there's a sub-bass drum, there's this pan buzzing, again, headphones please, guitar and piano sample, there's this really insane beat that comes in, expecting sort of an interlude with a bit of noise and sound, and this beat just comes in, and I'm just thinking like, what the hell is going on right now? And you hear this filtered synth, this hardcore breakbeat sounding sample comes in for a second, periodically. It sounds like there's a synth that's being played next door and you're recording it from the other room and then putting it through an aquatic filter. Again, there's more digital noise. Very short track, very, very effective, very insane, very strange. Somehow, again, very melodic, somehow it's accessible. I don't know. I would like it if it weren't accessible, but somehow I feel like people could enjoy this who would never listen to this type of music. Yeah, there's this sort of harp or harpsichord that could be digital, it could be acoustic, I have no idea. It sounds like it's just being strummed endlessly into this filter. Again, detuned chords. It sounds like if this were not on Mute Records, it could be on 4AD Records back in the 80s. Sub-bass, there's something of a bass drum rhythm that comes in. It's just very, very faintly sounds like a bass drum rhythm. There's digital noise, start-stop bass drum hits, and then we go back to that strummed harp or harpsichord or whatever stringed instrument it is. Again, could be digital, could be acoustic. Sounds amazing. Sounds very Baroque. It sounds like you've gone back a couple of centuries. You're playing this instrument, and we have the recording here, but it's just been so digitally mangled that we can't make any sense of it. It sounds like a full track somehow. Very effective, very mysterious, very strange. I feel like I've just walked in on something that I wasn't supposed to walk in on, but no one's telling me to leave, so I get to stay. Yeah, you just have digital noise, explosions, this sort of filtered synth pad, these vocal samples that sound like a monster or some sort of demon. And basically the whole track sounds like it's going backwards. It sounds like he could have recorded something and then just sampled it backwards and and just basically gave us the result. I quite like it, but I'm very much into this music, so you may or may not like it, but if you're watching this review, you probably like it. You have this delayed 707 bass drum, these syncopated synth ostinatos. It sounds like a sino grime melody. There's this incredible sub bass, these very Autechre-like patterns, something of a rhythm that you can sort of make out. Amazing sounds. It just feels like you're swimming through a digital ocean at this point. Pan sounds, again, with the sort of 360 sound. The distorted synth melodies play off of the heavily processed digital noises, so it kind of sounds like there's a back and forth between the noise and the melody. You hear piano chords. It's basically a digital symphony at this point. Again, very baroque, almost romantic. I listened to an interview that he did on the BBC. The title is a nod to Bjork because they're both snakes on the zodiac calendar. He said that Zen was a lot more introverted, and here he just wanted to express himself. This album was an attempt to make sense of himself. It's a celebration, and a lot of the tracks are dedicated to friends and family and just people that he loves. So this song is basically for Bjork. It's about Bjork and just the relationship that they forged. You have these delayed and filtered piano notes. There's a synth pad. There's, again, digital explosions. It just feels like it's raining piano notes. Heavily processed vocal sample comes in. There are these harp arpeggios and chords. Again, just incredibly mysterious, as are all the tracks. It feels like this is being played in an attic somewhere in some haunted or just abandoned house. And again, you walk in and hear it, and you're just trying to get closer and closer. But every time you get close, it just becomes something else, and you don't know what's going on. I love these sounds. I love this album. You have these melodic digital percussion hits, this sort of spacecraft metallic noise, detuned grand piano cacophony, basically, more digital noise, this exotic vocal sample. I'm not sure what language it is. It'd be great to know. This pan and filtered noise, that sort of sounds like it's warning, like it could be a warning siren or something. There's some acoustic percussion, which is very interesting, very good. Sub-bass drums, and then this harsh, overdriven noise comes in and just sort of engulfs everything. A lot of the sounds are very familiar. A lot of the sounds you can easily make out, but the combination you probably wouldn't think of. Or if I told you just what the elements were, you would think, well, that's not a song, that's not a track at all. But when you listen to it, it makes sense. Or it doesn't make sense, and that's the beauty of it. Starts off with this digital explosion, this repeated sample, repeated staccato vocal samples. There's pan sound again, digital noise, and just repeated percussive hits. It just sounds like your thoughts are going back and forth in your mind, and just you're thinking about the same thing over and over again, and then it changes, and then it shifts, and it's just amazing. It sounds like a digital hymn in a sense, in sort of distorted and morphed sense. You have rhythm, a drum beat, these melodic synth ostinatos, vocal samples, synth arpeggios, this sort of koto or shamisen or guzheng, I don't know, it's just some oriental and plucked instrument. Basically sounds like a more melodic autechre, and then that rhythm is just, it's basically danceable. It ends with this low frequency rumble, and just, it's basically like nothing happened. Second favorite track, or it could be my favorite track, I don't know. I love it. Again, it sounds like it has that plucky sort of grime synth. Pretty much speechless. I love this track. It's amazing. Again, there's more harp or harpsichord, and you have these arpeggios and these chords. They're delayed and with reverb. At least that's what it sounds like. An excellent intro to the track. Sounds very baroque. I feel that this cannot be digital. It has to be acoustic. Although I don't know. I'd like to know more about that, and maybe there's something out there that says whether or not it's digital or acoustic, but I don't think so. The feedback itself is musical. This detuned sound that comes in, it's in almost all of the tracks. If you hear an instrument, it will be detuned at some point. It could even be piano strings, like someone is playing piano strings. Then the synth pad comes in. It's amazing. You hear this sort of digital rumble, then this reverse sample comes in, panned and delayed, low-pitched vocal samples, This sort of digital pagan horn comes in, processed digital percussion, a synth pad choir, and piano. This track is very hypnotic. That just vocal sample madness just everywhere. Again, back to that insane percussion later on in the track. This low-pitched scream comes in, a bit of start-stop again, and then just more screams, more and more screams. This track is insane. Very impressive how the chaos is melodic, how the chaos is actually accessible, how you just kind of want to be in this world, even though it's strange and disturbing. Sirens, of course, pan and filter digital noise, and these detuned sirens, basically. A nice break, but not really, because you just want more noise. This sort of slow attack shimmering pad, metal skating synth pad, it just sounds like it's going off against metal or something. And then you have these cries from the abyss, basically flanged feedback, flanged synth pad, and then this low digital rumble again. You hear that low rumble in a lot of tracks. Again, very bizarre, very weird. I really love how all of the elements come together, and just the Baroque nature of every track. It just feels like the entire album could just be one sort of symphony, or just one track with many different iterations. Every track has the same sort of feeling. Every track has the same sort of emotion. Every track has the same sort of celebratory and yet bizarre and just lost feeling. So I'm happy, but I don't know what's going on. You have this sort of karate chop digital percussion, processed and filtered synth notes. You have chords and arpeggios from that same synth, sub bass, synth bass, these sort of strange and brassy synths, again with the baroqueness, just never ending. It has this sort of percussion that reminds me of James Blake or Mount Kimby, that UK sort of skittering digital percussion, but again it has that Autechre feel, especially with that harp or harpsichord or whatever it is. I feel like these are Autechrean melodies. It doesn't sound anything like Autechre at the same time, but you can feel the influence, and you can definitely hear them coming through. It does sound a lot like them, to be fair. You have these reverse samples, and then it sounds like there's this choir just going, ooh, or it could just be him doing that. Bells scraping metal, digital explosions and percussive hits with reverb, these nice synth portamentos, piano, pan digital staccato rhythmic noise. Again, start, stop, just basically going from delicacy to fury, from peace to war and just rage. Apparently he said this song expresses coming to terms with sexual identity, just being proud of your identity, being proud of your eccentricity and just being different. The title, again, he's sort of reclaiming and repurposing the word, and he thinks that the word is violent, but that the violence is necessary. The whole album basically expresses that sort of eccentricity and that uniqueness that he has come to terms with. This is actually Jesse Kanda's middle name, his best friend, person who makes all of the 3D digital models and his videos and in the artwork. Digital explosions, synth pad, detuned synths, these really spacious percussive hits with reverb, digital noises again, processed vocal samples again, rhythmic digital noise again, synth screams, I think something is screaming, these processed steel drums, which sound amazing, or a processed string instrument, I'm not entirely certain. All of these instruments sound so familiar yet so foreign in these tracks. Arpeggios, a bass synth, there's a bit of a respite in the track, and then it just ends quite quickly. You're back to that insane chorus, or at least what I would call a chorus. The track is dedicated to his best friend. It's amazing, it's beautiful, tender yet full of rage and just full of bizarre and infinitely interesting percussion and noises. Processed, flanged, and filtered synth, or it could be a piano or a steel drum or something. Effects, effects, so many effects. Just torturously beautiful interlude-like quality to this track, and then it just ends. It's I just love it. Sounds like it's disintegrating and it's melting, or again that you found it, but the recording is so bad that it's just really hard to understand. But you can make out the beauty, you can make out just the emotion and everything, and it's just amazing and an amazing end to an amazing album. So that was Arca with his new album Mutant on Mute Records. This is a terribly impressive record, very experimental, again, yet very accessible. I can see why so many people are getting into this sound, why so many people are finally branching out from just this normal pop sphere into sort of experimental and just very unpredictable pop sound. You have FK Twigs, Bjork, Kalela, all these people who are being influenced by Arca, people who have actually influenced Arca as well. A nice back and forth between the singers, producers, and Arca. They're creating what I think is a very vital and just very necessary sound right now. It's best if you just are able to sit down and listen to the whole thing, digest it, take it in, and really just be blown away by this record. I think it's better than Zen, it's better than his mixtapes, and it's better than his singles. It's better than the things that he's produced. Definitely feel that it's very personal. If you read the things that he says and if you listen to the interviews, you get that as well. I could give it a rating, but it's just going to be a ridiculous rating. It's more than 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching. This was the Listening Booth. I'll post a link so that you can stream it. I'll post a link so that you can buy it. Please, again, listen to it. Listen to his mixtapes. Listen to his singles. Listen to Zen so that you can hear how far he's progressed. Of course, I cannot recommend Volnakura more. Get the Kalela EP. Listen to FK Twigs. Everything that he's involved with, I really enjoy. Yeezus, I really liked Yeezus as well. If you can afford the vinyl, please get the vinyl. If not, get the digital. Watch the videos. They're very strange if you haven't seen them. Give them a chance if you don't like them. It's not the end of the world, of course. If you don't like this record, it's not the end of the world, but I definitely give it a chance. Take care of yourselves. I hope you guys are listening to the new music this weekend. There's definitely enough to keep your ears occupied. And in honor of this record, in honor of Arca and everything that he stands for, please remember to stay true.